today, look at this. Look at this program we have getting ready to get started. Well, before I tell you about that, for those that don't know, and I doubt that there's anybody online that doesn't know, but my name is Stuart Schlossman, and I'm president and founder of MS Views and News. Tonight, we have, as you can see, Social Security disability law updates. We are supported in today's program by Genentech and Sanofi, and Lisa Gonzalez-Goetz is a very well-established Social Security disability attorney. She's been doing this for a number of years. I have known her for quite some time. I've referred many to her, and she's referred many back to MS Views and News, so I want to thank her for that. Please do not ask Lisa anything that needs a doctor to be answered, because she's an attorney, everybody. She's not a doctor, okay? So thank you very much.
Yes, I appreciate that comment that I am not a doctor, but we do read medical records. So we'll get into that a little bit. But first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Gonzalez-Goetz. My practice is exclusively for Social Security disability. We handle cases from the person that's wondering if they qualify for benefits and they should apply, all the way through and including federal court. I'll talk to you about some of the changes of Social Security post-COVID and what we're seeing as a trend, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. But tonight I'd like to start because for so many people that have known me for so many years, of interest is that people don't seem to really know what I do. They think I do immigration or workers' comp. They don't understand that Social Security disability is its own kind of specialty. And in order to have a successful practice and get the benefits for the claimants, it requires that specialty in order to be successful, because even though the laws don't necessarily change, the system is changing quite rapidly. As you can tell, one of the things we all agree with is that the world is upside down politically, emotionally. Things are changing, fluctuating. People are not seeing eye to eye. But one of the things that people are seeing eye to eye is that the healthcare industry is failing many of us. And by extension of that, the Social Security Administration is also failing many people, because if we don't have the proper medical documentation and treatment for our clients, patients, individuals applying for disability benefit have less opportunity to be successful. So that's a very important topic right now, coming into a presidential election. If you've seen my other videos, as we start getting into a presidential election, benefits get held, processes are slower. So I'm gonna quickly recap the Social Security system, the most common questions that I'm asked daily, let you know the trends that are happening, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. First question I get asked all the time is, do I even qualify for benefits? I have MS, or I think I may have MS, do I qualify for Social Security benefits? And my rule of thumb is that if you're not able to work, and that's a definition that gets discussed often, but if you're not able to work on a consistent basis because of a disability, and you've taken the time to ask, you probably should be applying. These applications take a very, very long time. The process has a lot of statutes of limitations, and it creates a lot of anxiety and stress for families. So the sooner you do it, the sooner you get the ball rolling, hopefully the more successful you'll be on a quicker basis. So that would be my question. Whether or not a person qualifies for Social Security benefits is whether or not an individual feels that they're able to work, or if their work is interrupted because of their medical condition. With MS, we have issues such as whether or not your impairment is affecting your gait, your ability to balance, your ability to sit, stand at will, the past work that you did. Maybe you've cut down on hours. Maybe your employer has also made accommodations for you. All these things would be something that gets considered. Then, of course, if we have any objective findings of MS, that's very important. Like I said before, it's very difficult to obtain medical records, but it's very important because I'm not a doctor, like Stu said. We rely on those medical records and the objective testing to be able to prove disability. We also rely on your complaints to your doctors in order to show that your daily difficulties would affect your work-life environment. So as an example of that, we have many times people say, well, I'm trying to work, but it's really hard to get dressed in the morning, get to work. Remember, I have brain fog, I have problems concentrating, but then magically they go to a doctor. Your time is very limited. When you can see your doctor doesn't take good notes. But it's important to be able to say, please write down, I'm having problems concentrating, I am forgetting, I have brain fog, I have difficulty standing too long, sitting too long, moving from a sit-stand position, walking, I have problems with my balance. If you have problems fingering, be very detailed about it. Problems buttoning my shirt, squeezing the toothpaste, using the cell phone, on the computer, all these things weigh heavily. And a lot of Social Security employees, judges included, will say, well, we don't really think it's severe enough because it's not supported by your medical records. So it's really important that you have a doctor that you trust and that's going to be supporting you. Another question I get asked very frequently is, can I work? And the numbers, for example, for 2023 is $1,470 per month is considered work. So if you work part-time, but you make more than $1,470 in 2023, that would be considered full-time work. It's still below the poverty line. Very difficult, if not impossible, to live off that without another support, financial support, but that's what Social Security deems is considered work for 2023. The number of figure for 2024 is $1,550, $1,550 for 2024. Another thing that Social Security considers work, they say if you work more than 45 hours in a month, it would be considered work. Those two things are kind of like the bookends of what work is. But my interpretation of work has always been to keep it well below these numbers. So in my office, when people say they're going to try to work or continue working, we understand and support that, and it's been my position to continue to represent clients despite working. However, to make sure that the amounts are well below that, and well below is between $600 and $800 a month, because these amounts, I'm sorry, I don't know if you could still hear me. The call dropped. Let me see where I am at. Oh boy.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm logging back in, but I'll continue to talk because that's what I do quite well. But anytime you have any work activity, you're raising a flag to Social Security to say, hey, I'm able to do something. And then Social Security can turn around and start expanding on that work. They can turn around and say, well, we think you're keeping your numbers artificially low, and therefore we're not really going to find that you can't work. We're going to find that you are able to work. So there's these issues kind of contraindicate. So again, my suggestion is that if you feel that you're going to want to work, keep the amount of money that you receive no more than $600 to $800 within a month, because this will give them the opening for denial. Another question I get very commonly is, how much money will I receive? And that's dependent on the type of benefits that you are applying for. And it's also dependent on the kind of work that you had done in the past. So somebody who has worked part-time or not paid enough into the system, or a little bit of money for FICA taxes, would receive less monies coming in through Social Security. The maximum amount currently right now is up to $3,627 per month. And that would be somebody who has maximized their Social Security FICA, I guess, contributions. So I think those are very similar questions and the numbers change. So the 3627 as a maximum amount for Social Security is a newer number, as are the substantial gainful work activity numbers that I gave you for 2023. If you earn more than $1,470 a month, you won't qualify for Social Security disability. And for 2024, that amount is going up, but it's only going up to $1,550. With regard to eligibility for Social Security, it's another question I'm always asked. Am I eligible for Social Security? Well, a lot of the questions that we ask when we determine whether or not we'll take a case has to do with, what are your medical impairments? Do you see a doctor for this? Are you receiving treatment by way of physical therapy, medications, how often you go? And, you know, I review every case that we take. Attorneys do not get paid unless they win. And with Social Security disability, there's a maximum fee of $7,200. It's 25% of the retroactive benefits, up to $7,200. So even if I take a case, I take it with the belief that I'm going to win it. And that's with the support of your doctors and your medical records. Most people get spooked because they say, well, Social Security will say, I don't need a lawyer. Do I need a lawyer? So a lawyer's not required, but the chances increase dramatically of receiving Social Security benefits. So I'm going to give you an example. Your initial application, if you take a Social Security application, the wait time currently, based on a 2023 post-COVID study. And the reason I'm emphasizing post-COVID is because a lot of things happened during COVID, and Social Security almost worked faster, but they found a 7% reduction in staff. And they found an increase of 86% more delays nationwide in the wait times for Social Security. So if you submit an application, you won't hear anything for about 7 months. And if that's a denial, then you're waiting another 180 to 250 days to hear reconsideration. If you get denied again, you apply, you appeal, and you ask to appear before an administrative law judge. When you do that, those wait days right now, the minimum nationwide is 372 days. Okay? And if the judge were to deny, then there's another body that reviews, a body of jurisdiction that reviews the judges, and that's taking another 260 days. And that tends to be rubber stamped as a denial. And if you go into federal court, at the end of the day, you could be waiting 3 to 5 years for your benefits. But you could also receive your benefits as quickly as 6 to 7 months at your first attempt. What this investigation found, which is very telling, is that despite a 16% drop in applicants, the wait times have increased 86%. The amount of people that are actually dying while they wait for benefits is 7%. Last year, 10,000 people died in this nation waiting to receive benefits. 8,000 people filed bankruptcy during this appeal time. 3 out of 5 people get denied at initial. And I find, and initial is when you first file your application, I find as an attorney that there are 2 reasons for this. One is the government can always deny you by saying, you don't have 12 months of disability, or we don't believe it will last 12 months and you will improve. So therefore we could deny you very fast. Or the other reason is that you don't actually have the medical records and the documentation to back up a claim for Social Security disability. So those are the ways that we help and we get in there. It's a kind of area where most people are shying away from. I would say 50 to 60% of my competitors have decided to close their office and not practice anymore. Everybody who's applying for benefits is by definition out of work. They're trying to continue with their health care. They are on medication. They are stressed and they're waiting. So hiring an attorney can help you at least with the paperwork, which is very time intensive and very voluminous. So they'll send you the same form 3 times and tell you, you have 10 days to complete this or we'll close your case for non-action. That kind of language can get a person who's already suffering and anxious about this process, and it can get them more anxious and upset. So for those reasons, it's really, really important to understand that when you've known me 30 years and you ask me, oh, you do what again? Immigration. A friend of mine said, you know what? It's a problem if people don't understand what you do. But people don't understand what I do because people don't think they'll ever be hit with a diagnosis. They don't think they'll be unable to work. And many times, particular one of the formats that I see or behaviors that I see from MS patients, which is why I'm so passionate about this, is that pride is very important and you continue to work through the difficult times, and you're hurting yourself by not applying or by pushing yourself. And by the time you get to me and you've heard about me, or you hear about, somebody who can help you with the Social Security process, your condition has deteriorated, and it doesn't have to be that way. We can see that nationwide. These are facts that are happening. These numbers I'm giving you of people that have passed away and waiting, I would say I get an average between 3 to 15 people in a month's time, depending on the month, depending on the impairment, that have died. And in some cases, their claims can continue for their survivors. But in some cases, the cases are closed, depending on the situation. So it's really important, but those are questions. How long does it take to get approved for disability? It always depends. Every state is a little different, but they averaged it out, and the wait times are higher than they have been in the last 14 years, which is really, really significant. In an escalating economy and in a more emotionally divided society. So it's creating irrefutable issues, and with people leaving the workforce voluntarily, it's also causing some of the Social Security offices to temporarily shut down or to be closed certain days of the week, which also increase the backlog. So if anybody has specific questions on their particular situation, I'll be happy to take them. If they want to handle it in a more private setting, please, you can always feel free to email me. And I do answer every email. My email is Lisa, Lisa, at GG for Gonzalez Goetz, law, LAW, .info for information. So it's Lisa at gglaw.info. And I also have a very active web page where you can also go on and log on some questions. And I have some real life examples of cases that we've taken, and wins and losses that we've had, and the reasons for the wins and the losses. But if you go through and you look at our website, that can also assist you with some questions. And also the website does switch. If you hit the little Puerto Rican flag, it hits to Spanish, and all the same information in English is available in Spanish. That's what I do. So no problem with that. Let me tell you a little bit then about the cases that I have recently had. I'm going through my website because I actually write this blog myself. Nobody does it for me. And by that, I mean I go through every few months through all our cases. So as an example, my latest posts are, well, that doesn't really, a person with a car accident and had a traumatic brain injury, 46 years old, resulted in a neurological disorder, which was caused by an abnormal buildup in this particular, and this is why doctor information is so important. He ended up having an abnormal buildup of cerebrospinal fluid in the cavities deep within the brain. And in this particular case, even though he was 46 years old, as a result of this condition, he had multiple brain surgeries. He testified that after the accident, his procedures didn't work. And after the second surgery, he had headaches that were so severe that he ended up with a shunt replacement. And the shunt replacement caused dizziness, double vision, nausea, loss of balance, which resulted in several falls. He additionally had a lot of environmental conditions that were very serious that also impeded his ability to work. So in these cases, as an example, even though it's not an MS case, it shows you the need for the medical records to show complaints, double vision, nausea, loss of balance, resulting in falls. What happens when you're in certain environments? In the air conditioning, it gets too cold. In fumes, if you had been cleaning, or if you worked at a surgical site or in a doctor's office, certain cleaning products can affect you. Be very detailed with your doctor. Another example of a person whose benefits we won in May of this year was a person with severe bilateral knee problems. Now, they have, in this study that they did that I referred to in 2023, they indicated that some of the most common disability approvals are on musculoskeletal issues. So in this case, for example, it's severe bilateral knee problems. It sounds like, okay, so we have knee problems. It prevents him from walking due to severe pain, which additionally caused a hip impingement, which caused more of an imbalance. In this particular case that I have on my website, it's a person who was born with an extra X chromosome. And a male has an X and a Y chromosome, and this person had 2 X's and a Y. This resulted in other problems, extra growth of osteoporosis, learning difficulties. It created breast cancer in a male. So this person has a 9th grade education, had not worked since 2021, had a work history as a truck driver, and was able, based on his testimony, his vocational factors, his work experience, and his medical records, he was able to show that he couldn't return to that work. So at a certain age, when you hit 50, when you hit 54, these ages make it somewhat easier to grid out, to fall within certain categories so that you can qualify for Social Security benefits a little bit easier. So your level of education, the work that you had performed in the past, and the past is the last 15 years, these are the factors that go into seeing whether or not you are able to do another kind of work. So for example, I had a doctor who had Parkinson's, and Social Security said, well, you're not able to perform surgeries because of the Parkinson's, which creates shaking. So we don't expect you to use instruments and do surgery. However, your job was so highly skilled that you should be able to teach or at least talk to patients. And the judges were trying to discount all the other things that come with an impairment of Parkinson's, forgetfulness, the emotional limitations that you have, the frustration, the anxiety, the depression that's created by your change of life. So when you put all those things together, we were able also to successfully win the case. So there are many ways to win a case, and the government seems to want to let your case be denied, and they deny it almost always in the same way. And by denying it the same way, it makes our job a little easier because we can successfully appeal any denials. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'm opening the floodgates if you wish, but if you are concerned about something in private and you want a specific question, I ask you to just email me directly at lisa@gglaw.info. Thank you, Stu.
Thank you very much, Lisa. We have several questions, and we also had several people that signed in like 3 minutes ago and 5 minutes ago. And for all of you that did, so you missed the beginning of Lisa's presentation, primarily all of it. But if you have any questions for Lisa of reasons why you came online tonight and what you probably did not hear, please type in your question, all right? and then we'll just go over it again. But at least this time, Lisa will see herself, and she'll see the screen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with, and by the way, everybody, I'm not going to say any first names, although there's one person on here that he's always on, so I can say his name. All right. Going back to the others. The first question is, did I hear correctly that once a person files for disability and still working, they shouldn't make more than $600 to $800 a month?
So the government says you should not make more for 2023, 1,470. For 2024, the figures are 1,550. My advice is to keep it well below. That's a practitioner personal suggestion based on what I see the judge is interpreting. So you did hear me correctly. However, it's my opinion as an attorney, and people differ on this opinion, but they don't differ on this 1470 or 1550.
So Lisa, I'm going to go back over that, and I'm going to read it again. Or I'm not going to read it entirely, but I'm just going to say it differently. She wants to know if a person can file for disability, for Social Security disability income, and still be working.
Only if they make below that amount of money.
So, because in the past, we were never allowed to still be working at all if a person is first filing for SSDI.
Okay, so the definition of work is very technical. So you're right, you're not supposed to be working when you file for Social Security disability. But work is defined as 40 hours on a consistent basis, making a certain amount of money a month or working a certain amount of hours. So I will still take cases where people are working part-time and they're trying to file. But if their numbers are high, or if at any time they return to work and their numbers go above, technically they don't qualify.
Okay. So best, though, if a person can, I mean, I understand why people still need to work at least part-time to pay those bills and keep the mortgage and get some food on the table. But if they can do it without working at all, it would be best for them to file and get approved before they go back to work.
Well, the reason they're applying is because they're not able to work.
Right.
They're disabled and not able to work based on a condition that lasts 12 months or more. And these are really difficult times, Sue. I mean, economically, people are going back to work. So the reality is there.
That's correct. All right, next. A person writes, does SSDI consider EDSS ratings? Meaning the EDSS is one's ability to function, walk, insofar as walking.
This must be somebody who just logged on, because yes.
No, it's not.
No, okay, so maybe yes. The ability to walk, the use or prescription of an assistive device, a walker, a cane, the inability to walk on uneven surfaces, the inability to go from a sit-stand position, the inability to sit for too long or stand for too long, all those things are considered yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Next person writes, once you receive Social Security disability, is this permanent?
It's permanent as long as your condition does not improve or you don't return to work. So if you're on a trial and your limitations have gone away and your medical records, you get reviewed and your medical records show improvement, the government can then turn around and say, hey, we believe you're able to go to work. And then the question is, was there medical improvement or not? And even if there was improvement, whether or not you're able to sustain work. So maybe your fine motor dexterity improved, but you still have problems ambulating without an assistive device, we would still show that you're not able to work.
Correct. Thank you. So a step further with that would be, what if a person, yeah, well, I think you answered it. I was going to say, what if a person is doing better functionally, but is not able to walk?
Yeah, I mean, it's very case by case determinative, but if you're not able to walk, it's going to affect a lot of positions in work. So yeah, that would be something, as long as your doctors are supporting this contention, right? You're not just saying that. Your doctors will say, yeah, you're limited in these facets of your life. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, reminder, if anybody's online listening that feels more comfortable to write their question in Spanish because they speak Spanish naturally, then please ask your question in Spanish and we will get this answered as well. But please do not try to flub it by thinking that you know how to write Spanish, just to see if you actually write Spanish. Thank you. All right. Next, a person writes, I have a general question about Social Security. My wife, who's older, began taking her Social Security several years ago. I am obviously younger and have not taken SS or SSDI yet. Am I qualified for spousal SS benefits until I claim my own?
I don't know how old you are, and it depends. So Social Security will automatically put you on their books and give you the higher amount, whether it's your spousal, if she worked and earned more than you did. So the answer is very determinative, and this question is so general. It would be best if I just either get clarification or an email.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next one. Once approved, what's the usual wait time for being awarded?
So assuming you have no workers' compensation benefits, which would be an offset, and assuming it's a simple case, and by simple I mean a case that didn't go to federal court, going back and forth, it normally takes 4 to 6 weeks to receive your retroactive and your monthly monies. So 4 to 6 weeks, that goes a lot quicker. However, I have seen 6-month wait times on cases where people are waiting for money that has been approved at federal court. And I mean, I'm talking substantial fees for the last, 3 to 5 years of waiting, and they've accumulated, and the government simply doesn't have enough personnel. But I personally have seen this every election year, no matter what party is incumbent and not, there's a holding of fees so that they can keep their coffers more full. So the general answer is 4 to 6 weeks. You should start seeing. You will get a notice of award. It tells you exactly what you're going to receive for what months. It breaks it down very nicely. And that comes from Baltimore, Maryland. So if you get a mail from Social Security in Baltimore, please don't throw it out. Look at it, because it's specific to you and your benefits.
Great, thank you. All right. Person writes, if I'm 75, I guess you are though, right? If I'm 75 and on Social Security, can I still get Social Security disability?
Well, Social Security disability is offered for people that don't have Medicare and are trying to get Medicare and Medicaid. So I'm assuming if you're 75, you're already having some kind of Medicare and supplemental, so you would not qualify under the program that we work on. We work for people 65 and under.
Correct. How long does, you probably already said this, or maybe you haven't, but what is the general wait time to get approval for Social Security disability income?
Oh, I said that at length in the beginning. So the approval.
Well, this was a latecomer.
Okay, well, the wait times have gone up 86%. I hope that gets your attention. 7% of the Social Security employees have have quit, resigned, retired. Offices are closed or working part of the time or closed to the public, maybe 1 to 2 days a week. The wait times can be as quick as 7 months. It can take as long as 3 to 5 years, depending on when you get approved.
Great, thank you for that. Next, we have, what is your website and email address again?
My email address, sure, I don't mind, is Lisa, L-I-S-A, at GG, Gonzalez Goetz, gglaw.info. Lisa at gglaw.info. And the website is Gonzalez and Goetz, or wegetyourdisability.com.
I'm trying to write it out quickly, right?
Oh, okay. Wegetyourdisability.com, but we may change that name since people don't still know what I'm doing after 30 years.
www.gonzalezandgetz.com. Did you say that?
www.wegetyourdisability.com, or the name, Gonzalez and Goetz.
Did write that. Okay. All right, great. So I'm going to send this out to everybody, and you'll have it in a second. There it goes. Now everybody can see it. All right, next question. Does VA disability benefits affect SSDI payments?
So disability benefits is not offset by VA benefits. There is a particular requirement that the government has that if you have 100% VA disability, Social Security has to look at your case a little closer, which a lot of judges don't want to do. But no, you can collect 100% VA or whatever percentage, and your Social Security disability benefits also.
Great, thank you. Next, person writes, I am married. How does this affect my ability to file and achieve SSDI?
So if you've worked 5 out of the last 10 years and paid enough quarters of coverage, you're insured and your spousal income does not affect you. If you haven't worked 5 out of the last 10 years, or if you're still missing some quarters of coverage, you're applying for a type of benefit that's called SSI, and your spousal income may or may not affect you on an individual basis.
Does SSDI, I don't know the right word to say here, does SSDI prevent me from sitting on jury duty?
You have to show up, but you can tell them that you are on Social Security, and you will most probably be excused if you should want to. They're not able to discriminate because you're on Social Security benefits.
Okay, next. What are the limits for sitting, for how long, standing, for how long, etc.?
There are different kinds of jobs. There's a job that's sedentary job where you sit 6 out of 8 hours. There's light jobs where you sit stand option. Then there are medium jobs where you drive or you unload things, and then there, etc., heavier jobs where you work in facilities or landscaping, which are heavier. So based on the work activity that you had done in the past, that's a concern. It's never an actual number, except you don't want your sit, stand, and walk to equal 8 hours a day, unless you have frequent interruptions. So if some doctor says you could sit 4 hours a day, you could walk 2, you could stand 2, that's 8 hours, you're going to get denied. But if your total is less than 8 hours, or you have interruptions on the hourly basis because you have to sit and then stand and you have to move away from your workspace, then that would interfere with your ability to maintain employment, sustained employment.
Okay, thank you. Does Gonzalez and Goetz, or does Lisa Gonzalez Goetz, have age limitations or anything concerning a person filing for SSDI?
No, as long as you're
Parameter.
65, under 65, our youngest, unfortunately, our youngest clients are children with these elusive disabilities that are hard to pinpoint, and they're, you know, like you could be on the spectrum and you can have a wide range or little range of issues. So no, we don't discriminate or take clients. I know that there are attorneys that only take clients over age 45 or over age 50, because obviously it makes the case a lot easier. But no, we don't. I don't.
Okay, thank you. Last question that somebody asks is, are there any driving cutoffs is the way it's written, but is there, I would say that she's trying to say, is there any, I don't know how to say it, but anyway, are there any impairments to being able to drive if you're on SSDI?
So
are there any limitations? But will the courts or will the police be not happy with you if you're driving and they find out you're on SSDI?
No, no, no. However, if you're often driving, I have had judges frequently. I mean, every hearing they ask, do you drive? And if so, how many times a week? How many miles a day or a week? And it shows a certain amount of concentration, ability to sit. So if you're saying you can't sit for too long, but you're driving hours, or you drove to Sarasota, these are problems that will affect you. So no, a policeman, nobody really cares if you're on disability benefits and you're driving, but if you're trying to obtain disability benefits and you're able to drive, then the government can say, well, you can do Uber deliveries. You can drive for a living. You can, you know, I mean, it's an employment where people need to be employed. So it will hurt you. So I would rather not have you say that to medical doctors if you're applying.
Okay, thank you. Next, a person writes a question, which I think we began with, and that is there a dollar amount that a person on disability can work per month?
Well, Social Security says, again, $1,470 for 2023, $1,550 per month for 2024, but I advise my clients to keep it between $600 to $800 per month. I would rather you not work if you can't, but if you need to, I understand.
Okay, so that was our last question, unless everybody's going to jump in right now and ask questions, but I don't see that happening. So thank you very much and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.